One number that we'll talk about now is Balrampur Chini. Vivek Saraogi is with us. Vivek, morning. First, before we talk about sugar, if you could take us through the performance of the distillery and the power cogen divisions, which have been sort of tepid in this current quarter. Can you explain that, and B, tell us what your outlook is for the next few quarters for these two divisions?
Morning, Udyan. The flattish or the tepid numbers for these two divisions mainly a function of lower crushing. So if you have lower cane, you have lower bagasse, you have power generation which would be lower, and same goes lower molasses, lower availability of alcohol. So as we go ahead, I'd like to take the two separately. On the cogen, yes, the volumes would be lower. They're reflective in this quarter. But there's been a welcome development. The UP government has bought power at 4 rupees for a special window which is March, April and May. So that's an increase from 3 to 4. So we'll be using that window fully. On the distillery division, things would remain flattish. Maybe slightly, if we take a year-on-year performance, the outlook would be slightly lower than last year in terms of profitability.
Vivek, morning. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the interest cost for Balrampur Chini this quarter round. I mean, they're up almost 30%. What's led to that, A? And do you see interest costs moving a bit higher over the next couple of quarters?
No, I don't think interest quarters are to move up from here. Mitali, we have two, as every industry, we have two portions of the interest. One is on the block, which is the fixed assets. Others on the working capital. So working capital interest has peaked because your crushing has stopped in February and March. So your working capital interest will come down and your interest on the gross block will remain the same.
So now that you've told us that distillery and cogen will be flat, maybe even slightly lower, how much can the sugar division do to drive your top line and earnings in the next 3 or 4 quarters, particularly as crushing improves next season?
Then as we move ahead, the top line would be lower, I think, but the bottom line is looking up. And you know, there are two parts to this. One is the old sugar which we sold during the, which has been sold till now. And the other is the new sugar which is to be sold. So new sugar sale is just beginning. Old sugar has been sold. So there is a price movement which is very strong. And as we go ahead, I see price remaining firm.
What would firm indicate by way of a range for prices, Vivek?
See, range is difficult to give, but the range is trended upwards. And on this note, even the global range is very interesting. The raw sugar has moved up to 14.18, that's 14.18 cents, which is the high from October, October 08. So we are on the year high there. The main producer there is Brazil. A lot of credit crisis in Brazil owing to the real and things like that. So not all mills are operating, not all mills are likely to operate this year and next year. With India, Pakistan, Lanka, the entire region remaining in deficit, I see global and local prices trended upwards.
The way you expect next crushing season to pan out, Vivek, and the way you expect prices to hold in the sugar, if you can just put the two together and tell us whether you believe, from what you can see now, that September 2010 numbers would be far superior than the year which ends in September 2009?
Within too many variables, but I'll just play with each variable. One is cane price for the next year. That's definitely trended upwards. Sugar price for next year again trended upwards. Crushing definitely moving up from here. So if we are looking at a 14.3, 14.4 production this year, too early to make the estimate, but if you do ask, a ballpark figure could be around 18 million. Now that is still way below consumption. Therefore, the logical trend is upwards. So, moving ahead, the distillery and cogen especially next year would perform better. We hope, we are going into a tariff revision there also. We're positive about that. So overall, September 2010 looks to be good only.
The shortfall has got quite a bit of public attention, Vivek. The government has been making soothing noises about the shortfall and how they're going to attend to it. Any fears of some kind of governmental intervention on pricing?
See, what the discussions we have had, and logically as they play out, if government wants India not to be a perennial importer, the only way is to live with a high sugar price, which would follow and logically lead to a higher cane price, which in turn would lead to a better cultivation level. So I think, post-elections, I remain bullish on the prices. And they will be trended upward, but I don't see any spikes ahead, gradual movement upwards.
Thanks, Vivek. Appreciate you joining in. That's Balrampur Chini saying that they don't want to stick their neck out now, but they believe that fiscal year 2010, September to September, for them, will be better than the current year that they're seeing, but no formal guidance. The stock's up 1.2% at 72.5.